Okay.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Greg Stumpf out in Norman, Oklahoma, and this is the Virtual Lab Project and Community Owners Meeting, first one of 2018. We have some interesting stuff that we're going to talk about today. Primarily, the two big things are we are getting ready to roll out what's called the DXP version of LifeRay, which will replace the current version on the community side of the VLab, and Ken Sparrow will be providing a demo of the new capabilities and the look and feel. And in addition, our community spotlight today, Tim McClung, is going to be talking about how he uses the VLab to develop the headquarters-wide one-stop community. We had a similar community set up in OST&I, and now we have one for the Weather Service as a whole. Right now, we're still waiting to get Ken Sparrow connected to the VLab or to the GoTo webinar. It looks like he's having some issues on his end. Also, Steve Smith doesn't appear to be on just yet. So what I think I'll do is let's give both of them a minute. And if they don't show up in the next minute, we're going to go ahead and jump straight. Oh, there's Steve right now. It appears, Steve, your phone is muted. So as soon as you unmute, you can give your welcome and your introduction to this meeting. In the meantime, we're still waiting to get Ken on here. So, Steve, I cannot unmute you. You need to enter a PIN, apparently. And it looks like we have Ken on now as well. All right. Steve, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. So I just want to welcome everybody per the agenda to this edition of our Project and Community Owners Meeting. Just to remind everyone that we provide these for our key stakeholders in the virtual lab. You all, the ones, the movers and shakers who actually have taken the initiative to build a community or start up a project, and are kind of the users who are most impactful on others in NOAA. So this is really for you. Not really, it is for you. And so I would encourage everyone during the full scope of the agenda to ask questions, either using the chat feature or raising your hand. Don't be afraid to go off on a tangent, because really this is provided so that you can do that. We've got a lot of stuff going on. You're going to hear about with regard to the big upgrade to LifeRay DXP coming in the next month. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to be very attractive and generate a lot of excitement amongst the VLab community, a lot of great new capabilities, a new look and feel, and so forth. So I don't want to take up a lot of this time to distract from what you'll see soon. Safe to say that that this is going to be a big shot in the arm, I think, for a lot of people in a variety of ways. We continue to see outstanding growth in VLab usage as tracked by Google Analytics and other indicators. So that's great to see, and we're working really hard to keep up to make sure that VLab is stable and keeping up with that demand in terms of providing responsive performance when you log in and start to do stuff. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Ken, I guess, or hand it back to Greg to hand it over to Ken.
All right, this is Greg, and Ken, you are unmuted, and it looks like we've changed presenter to you. So go ahead, Ken.
Great. So you guys are seeing a screen with Development Virtual Lab on it?
Yep, we hear and see you fine.
All right, perfect. So this is our development instance of VLCS, and it's well underway with the migration to DXP Digital Experience. That's the next major version of Liferay, which is the software, the portal software that we're using. And so we've taken this Liferay DXP, or the upgrade, has made significant changes under the hood. And hopefully from a user experience perspective, things aren't going to change a whole lot, but there are some significant changes, particularly for those of you that are, the community owners and administrators. And so I wanted to I'll go through quickly and touch on some of the main differences within the site. We have used this migration as an opportunity to give the site a fresh new look and feel, because we had to go in anyway. And I have to give credit to Tao, who's one of the developers out at NSSL. She's led that effort. So, so the interface itself, from the front end, it's not going to, there's some changes in terms of the look and feel of the site. The main changes are the ways in which you get to the administrative pages where you go in and manage your community. And so at the very top here, there's something that's called the control menu. And this menu bar up here has a couple options. And there's an option here that says menu. And if you click on that, then they've standardized the way in which you get to all the administrative type tasks, and they're on this left-hand side. It's called the product menu. And so, for example, if we wanted to modify the pages associated with the Development Virtual Lab community, we would go into here, go into navigation, and then within here, we would see our pages, the public pages, and then the private pages, and we can manage those right through here, similar to what you've done historically. You can also click on these dots, add a child page if you wanted to do that. The new theme supports multiple levels deep of pages, so in other words, you can nest them. That was possible with the changes that were rolled out last year as well, but that continues moving forward, and I think it actually behaves better now. So the things that you're used to getting to are over here within this product menu, and it takes a little getting used to initially, but it's a much better experience overall, because if you're going in, everything's over here. So there's consistency, whereas before it was kind of across the board. Likewise, in terms of content, if you're going in and changing web content, your documents, media library, wiki, that's all found here on the left-hand side. And so you can click on each of those and go into the appropriate section. One of the other things as an administrator is that oftentimes needs to be done is adding and removing of members, and that would be under site membership. There are some changes to the vocabulary that we haven't completely finished yet, like this would say community membership, not sites. But anyway, so you get the sense. If you want to close that product menu, you would just click on that again, and it would scroll off to the right, or scroll back and be hidden from view. So some of the other things that I think are some nice changes, if you're on a page, like in this case, we're on the public page for the Virtual Lab, the Virtual Lab main community, and you see this word public here. It's a little bit, it takes a little getting used to as well, but if you hover over public, that will give you a way to go to the private pages, and we didn't really have a way of doing that before. So this is only going to appear if, one, you're logged in and you're on the public pages, and two, if there are private pages. So some communities like the AWIPS technology a community that they just have public pages. They don't have private pages. The majority of our communities have private pages, and some have public pages. So anyway, I can quickly get over into the private pages, and then likewise, you'll see here that this shows the private to indicate, yeah, you're on the private pages, and if you go to any of these pages here, it's going to show there. So that's a difference. The other difference is how do you get to other communities that you want to go to, and there's this select a site that'll say select a community. We're making those last changes now. So this will then pop up. It's going to show you all of your recent communities, and so this is a kind of a nice feature, and that is the communities that you recently visited. The ones most recent are going to be at the top of the list, and then so that'll allow you to quickly get to those communities that you go to often. If you need to go and see the extensive list, like in my case, I'm a member of a lot of communities, I can get to that complete list here, and then if I'm looking for a particular community, I can just do a search for it, and then that'll allow me to go in here, click, go out to the VirtualLab support team. This option brings it up into a separate tab, so if I want to load a separate tab within that community, I can do that. So, so that's a change, and we will have guidance for our users on these changes, highlighting the differences. But remember, select a community here in the upper left. That'll always be there. So that's a quick way of getting to the other communities. Some other changes within this instance is that we've provided a VLab services icon up here. You click on that. That'll allow you to quickly get over to Redmine, Garrett for the code review, and Jenkins. And we'll be placing this in the header of the other applications as well to make it very seamless to get between the different services that VLab offers. Question mark is what you would expect. You click on that, that's going to take you to, our typical page. That'll also get you to the user's guide. And the clicking on the user takes you to the user section within the product menu over here. And so if you're wanting to look at your notifications, you would click on that. That's going to then show all the notifications. That these are any forums, things like that you've been subscribed to. You'll get those through here, just as you do today. It also allows you to sign out if you need to sign out and get to your profile. That's a public-facing pages. We still have a little bit of work to do to get that to work as we need it. We haven't made some changes that are being migrated, but anyway, you get the idea. So, and if I wanted to go back to the site, I can click on this here. That'll take you back to the public pages. If you wanted to go, you can click under navigation, and you can go to the site here too. There's a link there as well. So I think, let me see what other things I wanted to touch on. The other thing that we've done to preserve space is we wanted to take up less space with the top portion of the site. So we've added the help here within this. You click on it. That then allows you to do your, not help, I'm sorry, search. That'll allow you to do your searches. When you're in the main community, it's going to default to everything. Otherwise, it would default to this community. And that allows you to do this search. And one of the nice things under the hood is that with this upgrade, it's also upgraded Elasticsearch, which is the search engine that we're using. And that's a later version, and it works much better in this instance than it does in the current production instance. Things such as doing searches with spaces and things like that are much better. So anyway, you can do that. We're looking at the presentation, I believe, is better than it was previously, and we're going to be spending more energy on this to streamline it even further and provide different ways of being able to get to this information and the faceted perspective, different ways of doing the search. So, so more energy is going to be spent on that because we know that's an area where more work needs to be done. Other things that are up here, they will not show up for you unless you're an administrator. If we go back to the main site and let's go over to the private pages, if I want to modify a page, there's this configure page, and so that's very similar to, I want to come in there. I can then go in and change the layout, everything like that associated with it. And then if you want to do more, you can come into here. If I want to add, for example, portlets, I would click on that add. That would then come into here and allow us to, if you want to add like an asset publisher. So, and then you could click and drag that across. So, just like you would previously. So, anyway, that's some of the highlights. Are there any questions for me or before we switch gears?
Any questions for Ken? You can use the raise your hand feature or the question feature. Don't think so, so go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to mention was, some of the things, while I've focused on the layout and the changes to the layout, there are some significant improvements to beyond the search that I talked about to like the DDLs, the forms. That's much improved with this instance. It allows for more flexibility. So in terms of the forms themselves, you can have conditionals so that you can make choices along the way and display things based upon that. So that's a nice new feature. The other thing that one of the initial drivers for all of this was that the way in which today within VLCS you have to upload content, like for example, if you're going to include an image within your web content, it's somewhat painful and not very intuitive, and that you have to actually upload it to the server and then you have to reference it. Now you can actually pull it directly up from your local computer, much more in line with what you would expect. So there are some nice new features with regard to that. So that's what I wanted to talk about here. Like I said, we're putting together guidance. Our user's guide will reflect the changes. We'll also have some pages that highlight the differences and make sure that to make the change as seamless as possible. The process under which we're going through the migration is that we're migrating the production instance, or we will be migrating the production instance in place. So what that means is that come migration day, we'll have to have an outage, most likely for the whole day. For VLCS, the other services would be available. But for VLCS, it'll have to be down so that we can run through all the migration scripts and upload all of the new modules. Those are the portlets and everything that we've done. For example, like what you're seeing right here with the projects registry portlet, that had to be rewritten to work within this new framework. And I mentioned it, but I didn't explicitly state what's changed under the hood. But basically, they're using a more modular design and using a standard called OSGI. So what this will enable us to do is upgrade things, upgrade the components or these modules without impacting other aspects of the site. Much of it can be done without ever having to shut down the services. So VLCS, so it'll be a very good thing long term. So, okay, that's what I have for today.
Hey, Ken, this is Steve. Did you want to mention that we're going to take the opportunity of, along with the DXP migration, to take our make our best attempt to simplify and improve the search function in general?
Yeah, I showed search and the fact that we're going to refactor that to streamline it. I can highlight that again. So what we, if we do a search and search for something like VIT, if I can type in there. So it returns a result set. One thing that we're looking at doing, and I was talking with Tao about this morning, and Jason Bergs, is that we've done some things with an AIR, the AWIP's interactive reference search tool, where our initial view is very streamlined, much akin to what you see today, like when you do a Google search. And so here, I think this is more streamlined, but there's still a lot of information here in terms of filtering down further on the left. And so what we're looking at doing is the first view you get to would be just the results, and very plain, just show what's relevant. And if someone wants to dig deeper into the results, then we'll have opportunities to do that by clicking like on an advanced search, which then would show you, the list of the communities that the things are coming from, the types of results found, any tags associated with the categories. Also, we're looking at adding, the line office that the content is tied to, so that people, if they're coming from fisheries, can, a lot of the content is Weather Service specific, and so you may want to only look for things that are tied to fisheries, or likewise, if you're Weather Service, only see the content that's related to Weather Service. So, so a lot of energy is going to be going into not only streamlining the appearance, but also providing other ways of getting out the data. And so yeah, that's one of the things that is coming.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that through our survey of Weather Service Sioux and Does and the VIT and other sources, we've got the message loud and clear that we needed to improve the search function. So we are doing that, and it'll be coincident with the rollout of the DXP. So hopefully folks will find this much more usable and user-friendly and valuable for their VLab experience. So thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
We have a number of questions that are in the queue, Ken. So let's go ahead and start. Stephen Levine asks, with this upgrade, are you planning on making any changes to the wiki feature?
We don't have any explicit changes to the wiki. I can go in and check and see if anything has been upgraded there. I haven't noticed any significant differences, but to be honest, I haven't focused a lot of energy in the wiki. So yeah, I don't know off the top of my head if there were any significant changes. A lot of the energy with regard to the upgrade has gone into the underlying infrastructure, not necessarily some of the portlets themselves. Although you will see slight differences in some of the portlets, but so it sounds like from that question that perhaps you were hoping that were some changes, but as far as I know, I don't think so. But I'll take an action item to take a look at what's been changed and see if there were any significant changes to the wiki.
Okay. Next question from Tim Barker. When will this DXP version be rolled out to production?
So what we've set is our tentative date is, we're planning on rolling it out on the 23rd of March. We've set a date of the 20th as our go, no-go decision date. If everything's going well, then we would roll out on the 23rd, which is a Friday. The site would most likely be down all of that day. It's a significant process to go through, and so come Monday morning, hopefully come end of Friday, the site would be available for people to get back on and start working with. But we're doing it And like most rollouts, I actually prefer in these cases to do it over the, so we have the weekend to finish things up if need be. So the plan would be that you'd have access to the new and improved site come Monday. And like I said, the upgrade is being done in place. So what that means is we're starting with the production system that's there come late Thursday night, and we'll be upgrading the system. So you won't be losing anything. It will just be basically changing the underlying architecture to work with the new system.
Okay, thanks. Andy Edmond comments, good changes, Ken, appreciate it. And Brian Connolly asks, not sure if this would be an appropriate question, but I think it is. He is wondering if it's possible to see the Redmine calendar in a Google Calendar list.
You want to see the Redmine calendar in a Google Calendar list. So the Redmine calendar shows the start and dates associated with all the different issues tied to a project. So you want that exported into a Google Calendar? Is that what's being asked for?
I believe so. Brian, we can unmute you if you want to have a talk about this. Brian, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just was interested in being able to see the kind of the start and end of my projects in the context of my calendar.
So you want to see it within your own, so you can, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a look and see if there's a way to export it. I know that Google supports like a iCal import, so we'll have to look. I don't know off the top of my head, but we can look into that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next we have Ken Johnson with his hand raised. Ken, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see that you've addressed the search issues, because as Steve said, that's one of the big problems that was noted by the SUs. Was wondering, one of the other things I hear quite frequently about is the downtime of VLab and not being 24 hours by 7 supported. And with this particular upgrade, sounds like at least portions of the system is going to be down. I presume you're going to give people lead time to know that this is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So they can plan on it being down?
Correct. So we can put, I guess we'll have to figure out, how long ahead of time do you want to know? But we can, we could put out a notification now that we're planning on doing this upgrade, and it would be down the full day of the March 23rd, with the understanding that we'll know for sure on the 20th of March if that will be the case. So knock on wood, things have been very stable within IDP recently. And now that I say that, hopefully I'm not jinxing us. But I have to say that the services have been very stable. There was a rough patch about a month ago, and that was all related to instabilities within the IDP infrastructure. So so we're very much tied to that. But like I said, so yeah, this would just impact VLCS. The other services would be up. The only other potential impact would be Garrett, if you're an external user trying to log in. They actually do use VLCS for the LDAP protocol. So, but for most of our users, or 99%, that wouldn't be a factor.
Right. Okay, and one other question. Have you given any thought to maybe trying to do a webinar with maybe at least the Su's and Do's to illustrate the kinds of changes that are taking place?
I think that's a great idea. So you think prior to the rollout?
Yeah, prior or right around the time sometime.
Sure.
Plus or minus.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And we are working with, I'm reaching out to our core groups. The regions are on that list, Su's and Do's, as well as I reached out and talked with Oklo and gave them a heads up on this. I'm going to be doing that later this week with AWIP's program office, and then we're doing this, of course, today as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Two more questions. First, Daniel Melendez asks, is adding a non-NOAA member to the community handled differently now?
No, it'll be exactly the same. So, the links that we have on our homepage that show, request an external partner right here, that's going to be the exact same. And we're making sure that those workflows and the forms and everything work as they did previously. So that'll be exactly the same. One thing we are looking at is the landing page. We did previously, that had a listing of the communities on the left-hand side, and then you had your quick access and things like that. We're looking at making the landing page more dynamic, having more in the way of news content, what's changing, changes coming, things like that. So, and then because part of the reason for the communities portal that was here was a way to navigate quickly to get to your communities. And so now that we have this community select a site or select a community option, you can quickly get to your communities through this, and so that'll be a way for you to do that. And if you want to do exploration of the communities and find communities to join and things like that, that's not something you're doing every day. So you would just click on over onto the Communities tab, and then we'll be making some changes here to make that more intuitive for people to be able to find those communities. Okay, and Greg, I think there's one last question.
One more question from Steve Corfidi. What is the name of the icon on the far left side of the control bar that opened the product menu?
So that's a good question. We're going to be coming up with standards. It's an action item I have. Tao and I talked about that today. And so product menu, because we're calling this the product menu. So probably the product menu icon. But I have an action item to get to you, Steve, as well as to Tao and to the rest of the team, and we'll coordinate on that to make sure we're using consistent language so that it can be referred to within the training and the user's guide, as well as yeah.
Okay, great. That's it for the questions. Thanks a lot, Ken.
You're welcome.
So our next item on the agenda, let me get the agenda back up there, is going to be Tim McClung, and he's going to be our community spotlight and is going to talk about how he has used the VLab to produce the headquarters one-stop shop. So, Tim, you are unmuted. I will make you the presenter so that we can see your screen. And as soon as we see your screen, you can start talking. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you just fine.
Okay, great. So I'll start off by thanking the VLab support team, especially Ken Sparrow, who was instrumental in getting this site finalized. And also, I should mention Amy Fritz, who has left STI and went to OAR, but Amy was also critical in the early stages of this project. So what we created here was about two and a half years ago. I got tired of a line of 20 people outside my door asking the same questions day after day after day. And so I said, well, there's about 300 questions that I get asked all the time. And apparently, people are having a hard time finding the email with the information in it or the Google file or whatever. So I said, why don't we come up with something where it's basically a one-stop shop for everyone to go and find out whatever they're looking for. Basically, the 10% of information that people are trying to find 90% of the time, at least at Weather Service headquarters. So I came up with this acronym, One Stop, Science and Technology, Operations and Procedures. So that worked out pretty well. And we first went about developing a site for just the Science and Technology Integration Office, which of course has MDL in it that runs the VLab. And it went pretty well. We said, let's try to do it so that it could work using icons on a phone and also have drop-down menus as well. And so push came to shove, and we got it done. And then I showed our COO back here, John Murphy, the OSTI site only, and he said, that's awesome. Can you give it to everybody in headquarters? And we went from there, and it was rolled out late last fall. So you can see on your screen, let me go to the edit controls. Basically, you have these icons here, and it works on any device. It's not quite as elegant on iPhones for some formatting issues, but I think it's pretty slick. It works on any device. And you can find things either through these drop-down menus or through the icons. And the goal was to find everything in 3 clicks or less. And it just so happened that with a few updates along the way, the library software updates and VLab supporting us, we were able to basically hit all of the marks we were trying to achieve. So for example, you could hit here, this icon leads you to training, or you could find training under employees down here, training and development. It goes to the same place. When you click on that icon, it leads you to a secondary menu. And again, 3 clicks or less to find out what you want. We need to do a little bit of organization on this, but it's still in pretty good shape. And so basically, this one long menu here, an alphabetized list of what perhaps you might be looking for. Now, again, not everything's on here because that would be foolish to try to manage something like that. But, you know, again, the 10% of all the information that we've got at our access, at least at headquarters here, that we need 90% of the time. One of the things that helps is this A through Z list. So you can go in here and try to find, so that this issue with the drop-down menu. You can try to find anything using the A through Z list. That works pretty well. Yeah, it's better to go this way. So the search function works pretty well as well for this community, but it still needs a few tweaks. But let's say you're trying to find, oh, I don't know, awards. You go into A, and then you can find awards here, and it leads you to this menu. And so here's our peer awards program, all the information on that, who's eligible for awards, forms for gold and medal and silver, and basically everything people would need in the awards area. And then also you can put your files down here, as many of you know, to download files if you'd like, and we do that for a lot of forms that people would want to use. So this is the master driver's seat. I can see everything, and when we expanded it outside of STI, we went to all the different offices in headquarters and said, do you want to participate? And they did. They each have their own public area here that's not restricted. And so if you want to say what's going on at facilities, you go to their office in the public space. Here's their front page. And then, like, they put on their facility fact sheet. This is something a lot of people need. Like when you go to an office, let's say you're going to go over to Los Angeles and you're going to go to the Oxnard office. There's the facility fact sheet. A lot of leadership needs those kind of things. Then they also highlighted other pages of interest here. And, you know, not a ton of stuff on their public pages because they manage their own, you know, private pages as well. So if you go back to one stop at the headquarters level, you can see that here is the OF. Now this is the private OF, but I can see everything because of my role. But if you go into OF, this is what OF employees would see. And so when they go here, they'll get these icons that mirror kind of the front page of the headquarters site, and we did that purposefully. But what's behind these icons is completely different links to things. So what we've done here is we've created kind of a one-stop repository with, you know, links to Google Files and links to PDFs or things on hard drives that everyone uses in a shared format, or then locally office-specific stuff. So facilities here, just to continue, this is their internal site, so they have some stuff on projects. Then there's an area for managers, and each office has this as well, an area for managers, an area for supervisors, and an area then maybe if they want for the directors. Because some things, you know, shouldn't be available or shown to everyone. And so it's up to the individual offices what they did here, but in most cases, they have a supervisor area, manager area, and a director's area. And I as well, on the overarching site, have a managers area only as well. So when you go on here, this is only people who are managers can get to this space. And using the teams, the community teams capability, I was able to, with a lot of help from Ken, figure out how that people can only see what they have access to. Because the death of a site is when people click on things and it says error, 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 you don't have access to. So using the teams, which requires a little bit more effort when you're adding and deleting people from the system. But using teams, you can have people only see what they have access to. And I think that's been one of the key things that's made the site successful, as well as the A through Z, because people seemingly go there and find things a lot easier than the drop-down menus. So that is, I guess, a quick rundown of what we've done. Just for example, let me go into OSTI before I stop. Also, by the way, for XOs, for the executive officers, there's a section for them. There's a section for resource management, budget people. The ASAs, the secretaries, have their own section. And so, these things, become relevant as you become more specific. But we got to be careful and not be too specific. Going back into STI, so you'll see we go from the national area to STI. So it looks kind of the same, except we got Dr. Ming's cool picture there on the left. And when you click on organization on the STI page, we would hope you go to the STI organization. But when you do it on the other offices page or whatever, those links lead you elsewhere. Back to the OSTI area, we've also got what's called the STI team. And on here, it is an area specifically designed for people who attend and or participate in our annual operating plan meetings and the like throughout the year. And so we've actually been able to, using Teams again, create a space for people, once they're added to STI, to be able to see that area, but only if there are participants. So we found it's been very successful. It's heavily trafficked. I've got a lot of people from NOAA back here that want to jump on board. OER wants to expand it and take it on, but we haven't gone anywhere near that. But VLab and the VLab support team was the only game in town for us to make something like this happen, whereas it could look elegant. I mean, we could have done, a Google sheet and had everything. But this way, we can pick and choose what we want on here, make it elegant, organize it, and people can find things a lot easier, especially with the A through Z. So it's been very successful, and we couldn't have done it, obviously, without VLab. I'll take questions.
Any questions for Tim? You can raise your hand or use the question feature. Lots of cool stuff in here.
Yeah, I got a lot of people who've told me they use it like 10 times a day and they don't have to spend 2 hours a day looking for things anymore. So I would like to think we've increased productivity. Okay,
Steve Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank Tim for this overview, and it really represents the business model that we have for VLab, which is somebody who has something they want to do, take the initiative, go as far as they want with it. But if they need any assistance at all, the VLab support team stands ready to help them work through problems or implement solutions which aren't readily apparent. So that's how we're able to do this. And I just encourage anyone to not be timid and take advantage of the support team for consultations and other types of work when you're embarking on something. So we're not just here to troubleshoot the existing, sort of functionality of VLab, but also to assist you in developing your communities and projects. So just a pitch, and again, thanks Tim for this great overview.
And we have a question from Ken Johnson. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I'm just curious, do you have to join a particular community to access that one-stop page?
No, Ken. You should have access to the STI and the STI team area. But right now, it's basically headquarters people and Susan does in the field. But I'm not opposed to adding anybody who wants to be added to the overarching area. And if you want to be added to a specific office, you've got to have permission for that. But, right now it's just for headquarters people. But there's stuff on here that, anybody could benefit from. But it's targeted for the folks here in Silver Spring.
I see. Okay, so there haven't been any announcements about this outside of headquarters.
No, they haven't. But, it's no virtual lab, and we can go where we want to go. And there's discussion about what's next and whether I'm going to go crazy doing it all myself or not. But the answer is no to that. Like I got on the screen now, awards. Well, anybody could benefit from that. The forms, the policy, the schedule for the calls through the year. I mean, that's relevant to everyone. So there's lots of stuff on there that's relevant to everyone. But it'd require more tailoring and more tailing and more POCs, as we would expand further.
Right. Okay, thanks.
And we've got a question from Dustin Goring. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Looks like a great site. So my question is not specifically about this site specifically, but and more for the VLab in general. But as project manager, I'm always trying to find a good site that has a lot of this kind of really nice layout and everything as inspiration on what I should do to maybe help develop mine. And so it'd be good if I could just maybe have access to this, or if you have other recommended sites, just to see. I don't really care about the content per se, but just how you've set up certain things, because I'm still pretty new at it. Is there suggested sites, or can I have access to certain? Because I don't see that one on the list.
Tom Filiaggi.
Sounds like a question for the general VLab team.
Hi, this is Tom Filiaggi. I raised my hand because I wanted to mention that we are working on creating a new community that we were going to call a showcase community. And we're going to try to take some of these best practices and good ideas and put them in a place that everybody can get to one, see how it's laid out, and with some tips on how to do it in your own community. So that's coming. I can't give you a schedule right now because we're in the early stages of that, and we're still trying to identify which pieces would be in this showcase. But what's been shown today that Tim has shown you, that way of organizing information in the community, is one of the things that we will be showcasing in this showcase community.
Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect. Thanks.
Any other questions for Tim? Okay, looks like we've exhausted the questions. So Tim, again, thank you very much. Very informative.
My pleasure. Thanks again. Thanks again for all of the support from the VLab team.
You bet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take over again. And we are at the roundtable part of the meeting. We've already had a lot of roundtable type discussion, but this is one last chance for the attendees of the meeting to ask any question they want about the VLab, and the folks who are listening in can do their best to answer those questions. Raise your hand, use the question feature, and we'll give you guys about 10-15 seconds. And we've got two at the same time, so let's pick Stephen Levine first. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yes, following up to my question earlier on the wiki feature. Basically, what I've been trying to do is use our community wiki page and sort of make it into something like Wikipedia for the RTMA, which is the project the community group is dedicated to, and make it sort of an introduction, or as the previous speaker mentioned, sort of the 90% of the questions we get are about 10% of the stuff we do, that sort of thing. The issue we've had with it is that I see you can make multiple pages with it, but there isn't necessarily a good way to to organize those that a user might be able to see. Like, for example, it'd be nice to have one page about the observations we use, one page about the background we use, one page about more, scientific or technical stuff. We did ask earlier with someone on the staff. I don't remember exactly who it was, and they at least got a table of contents up there. What I was hoping for when I asked the question earlier is it would be nice if we could set something up so that if you clicked on that, you would get something that looked, very much like a Wikipedia page for anything else you want to look up, where there's just sort of a table of contents with all the stuff you want to get there that you have there, but it might be on one page with maybe like, subheadings, that sort of thing. The current wiki system, at least as I've tried to use it, and I'm by no means an expert on this, it seems like we keep making separate pages, and then if you scroll to the bottom, maybe there's a list of everything, but it'd be much easier if that was either near the top or if you could get everything on one page. So that was that's my comment. I don't know if others have tried to do something similar, either using the wiki or using some of the other features. I just felt like I should put that out there, and I'll shut up and let you answer me now.
Okay, so this is Ken. So it sounds like the piece that's missing potentially is, like with Wikipedia, they've got a listing on the left-hand side of the page that shows, the pages and things like that that are tied to that particular wiki within, like in our nomenclature within the community.
Right.
Yeah. Let us look into that. That makes sense. And yeah, let us. I've got a few action items, but I'll send this to the team, and we'll get back to you with regard to that.
All right, great, thank you.
Sure.
And Dustin, you have a question.
Yep, I have another question. So my question is there a capability, or is this even possible down the road, to send a file, like an image, to VLab that would be put onto a page every day, kind of hosting something we would send it? I have a lot of external partners, and sometimes it'd be easier if I could just automatically upload an image for them to view.
Yeah, this is Ken. So VLab, it does support web services, and so we can work with you and show you how it can be done. So we've got examples of people that are updating web content where that's being done automatically, so that then when you go to a particular page, that content is being updated through that. The mesoscale domain selector, the meso domain selector that's used for satellites, goes our GO16 positioning, meso positioning. They've got some examples within their community where they're doing similar things. So to answer your question, yes, it is. It's definitely possible. So just follow up with us, and we'll get you hooked up so you can do what you need to do.
So just send a general email to the support?
Yeah, just send an email to VLab. This is Dustin, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, or I can follow up with you. That's fine. So I'll take an action to follow up with you.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Any more questions? All right, I think we'll go ahead and call it a meeting. So I'll send out an email in the next day with a link to the recording of this meeting. It'll be on YouTube. And our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 28th. And the usual time, this will be the first VLab owners meeting that I will conduct from Silver Spring. So hopefully it'll work out. I'll be there that week. So I want to thank Ken Sparrow and Tim McClung again for their presentations and information. And we will see you again next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.